Hello there, everybody. I'm mrgameandpie, and welcome to the 15th Touhou game, Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. And guys, I have good news for you. I became really good at Touhou since the last episode. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I can get through this entire game without getting hit once. Yep, that's right. I'm gonna get through the entirety of Touhou 15 without ever taking damage. You're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, this game, Touhou 15 is actually a little bit longer than the other Touhou games in general, even if you're taking no damage. There's just more spell cards, more enemies flying around, and there's this. Touhou 15 is separated into a series of chapters. Every level has a couple different chapters to it. Basically, every single wave is a chapter, every spell card is a chapter. You know, the special gimmick of this game is point device mode. Now, in point device mode, you're not allowed to get hit a single time. If you do get hit, you just immediately die. As you can see over there in the top right corner, our lives are disabled. We don't have any. So it's a good thing that I'm not going to be using any. But whenever you do die, you get sent back to the beginning of the previous chapter, or well, to the beginning of the chapter that you're currently on. And yeah, you'll lose one power, and that's it. That's all that'll happen. You'll lose one power. So you basically just get infinite retries as long as you know, just keep working on it. But yeah, as for the plot of this game so far, basically the moon is being a problem. This isn't the first time that the moon has been a problem. The 9th game, I believe, no, the 8th game, I believe it was, involved the moon, well, being wrong. It was the wrong moon. There was a fake moon, everybody. But the protagonist handled that situation pretty well. Figured out who made the fake moon, figured out what was going on there. And turns out that there are people that live on the moon. They're called Lunarians. And the thing about Japan sees the moon as a very special holy place. And so, like, gods live there and stuff. Alright, so here we have the first boss. It's Siren. At least I think that's how you pronounce her name. And she's pretty special because she actually appeared as the mid-boss twice in the stage. The only other boss in the series to do that is, like, Alice Margatroyd. Well, we haven't seen her because that was, like, in the 7th game or something. I haven't played the 7th game. Who plays Touhou games earlier than 10? Actually, a lot of people played the games earlier than 10, but I don't, so they don't exist. But yeah, she's a moon rabbit because, well, you know, like the Americans, we see the man in the moon. In Japan, they see a rabbit on the moon. And she's like hammering mochi or something. That's why Siren has a hammer. Notably, apparently in the demo for this game, the color on her hammer, there's like this sauce or something on it. Apparently it was far more red in the demo, so people thought that was blood. No, it's mochi. And, yep, there she goes. Notably, oh wait, I should probably look at the text. It's a secret to everyone. But yeah, notably, Siren's spell cards really promoted grazing, which once again, it's pretty important in this game. Normally, you can only graze a bullet once. You just go next to it. Congratulations, you grazed the bullet. But in this game, if you stay next to a bullet for a prolonged period of time, you can actually graze it up to 3 times. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, a lot of Siren's bullet patterns were really graze happy. where you were able to just get in right next to bullets. Also, bullets will start, like, vibrating and changing color whenever you're starting to graze them. And if you're currently grazing a bullet, all of the collectibles on the screen will slow down to, like, a crawl. So yeah, there's a lot of cool grazing stuff, but even more notable is the fact that this game tends to be kind of stingy with bomb pieces. And you can actually get bonus bomb pieces by getting a bunch of points in a single chapter. And the best way to get a bunch of points in a single chapter? Grazing! So yeah, if you're a real graze master, you can get tons of extra bombs. It's pretty great. And Sine is actually especially good with this because of the way that her bomb works. Basically, it's the same bomb that we had back in Undefined Fantastic Object. Although I guess I never actually showed that bomb off, did I? Well, basically, it starts charging up for a while before unleashing a giant attack all across the screen, doing massive damage and destroying every single projectile. Basically, what you would expect the bomb to be. But while it's charging up, Sine is completely invulnerable, so you can just fly around all over the place, grazing like every bullet ever, before, you know, your bomb actually activates and takes out everything on the screen simultaneously. In this regard, Sine can actually get a bunch of extra bombs by spending bombs, just completely wrecking the entire game. Of course, I tend to be pretty conservative with my bombs, meaning that Sine probably shouldn't be the character that I play as in this game. But I just really like Sine as a character in general, so I just play as her whenever I can, even if her playstyle isn't really optimal to how I play the game. Alright, another chapter complete. Alright, so here we have Ringo. And, yep, she's one of the moon rabbits. The thing about the moon rabbits is that they're basically soldiers. And, in fact, one of the playable characters in this game is Raisin, who is a moon rabbit, actually. But she lives on Earth now. And, yeah, basically, she's turned against the moon. She is now their enemy. And her projectiles and shot types aren't really all that great. She's sort of got a spread shot, but it feels really random. And focus shot, like, pierces through enemies, but it doesn't seem especially powerful otherwise. But her bomb, actually, it's another defensive bomb, where you activate it, and then if you get hit by things, you're invulnerable to things. But she can get hit, like, 3 times before it wears off, and it lasts a really long time, too, so that's another one where you can basically just be invulnerable for nearly the entire game if you can do it right. But given the fact that I almost never use bombs, I've never really bothered trying to get it right, so whatever. But yeah, Ringo here, she uses a lot of these little tiny pellet-looking Danmaku attacks. She's eating some sort of food. I think they're like dumplings of some sort. And, yep, that's what her Danmaku little bullets look like. And, of course, her attacks come in rings. Because why else would you be named Ringo? Yeah, it's notable that beings on the moon are pure, which is a little bit of a concept that I don't actually fully understand, but basically the idea of purity as far as Japanese gods are concerned is pretty different from anything that exists in Western concepts, as far as I can tell. But one thing that they're pure of is life and death, Thus, despite the moon generally being an uninhabited location, because they aren't technically, like, alive, they also can't die either. Which makes the lifeless world of the moon perfect for them, because if they exist around things that do properly exist as living beings, then that kind of messes up their purity scenario, apparently. And that's why they're trying to purify, you know, the Earth, so that they can live here. Alright, oh man, alright, so this character, she's dormy sweet, and man, her bullet patterns look fantastic. I mean, just, they look beautiful, man. The way that all these little, Danmaku orbs are spinning around each other, it looks absolutely fantastic, like giant spirals in 3D. But it's all 2D, so it looks really cool. Alright, and, you know, if the music ever glitches around, don't worry about that. It's okay, you know, it's because I'm playing so perfectly. The game just can't handle it. Alright. But, yeah, so, right now, we're flying through space, because we gotta get to the moon! Who would've guessed? We're going straight to the moon, everybody. I mean, in the previous game where the moon was a problem, you never actually went to the moon, because the moon that was being a problem was a fake moon. But now the people on the moon are being a problem, so we're going straight to the source. Like, oh man, moon people, you think just because you're so pure you can cause trouble and just soak you? Well, guess what? That is wrong. You are inaccurate. I guess being pure doesn't mean that you're right all the time. But seriously, this place looks really awesome. I love this stage theme. It's really fantastic. Also, like, all these star bullets are pretty cool, too. They start floating around, then they start homing in on you. In general, you're going to be seeing a lot of star-shaped bullets in this game, actually. I mean, star-shaped bullets are a pretty common thing in, you know, the games in general, but, I mean, especially in this game. Because you're going into space. That's logical. Alright. Another chapter complete. Alright, so yep, as I mentioned previously, this is Dormy Sweet, and she is a tapir, which is a species that eats dreams. Better not introduce her to Kirby, because man, oh man, the last time he didn't get a dream, man, he just completely obliterated everybody's away. It was pretty bad. But, yeah, she's probably one of my favorite characters in this game. Her theme is absolutely fantastic. Probably my favorite theme among the groups in this game. Has some really great remixes, too. And once again, as I previously mentioned, I love the design of these Danmaku patterns. Her non-spells, in particular, are really fantastic. Just the way they look like spirals in 3D just going out of her. Man, it's great! Alright, and we continue. So this is a pretty cool spell card right here. You actually have to move in a spiral, which is a little bit odd. It's not exactly indicative of what you need to do, especially with the name. The name isn't particularly indicative of what you need to do either. And now here you have even more spirals all over the place, but this time the bullets are smaller, but moving way faster. So yeah, you really got to figure out where your dodging points are for this one. But there we go. Alright, so this is pretty cool. She has a ton of lasers all over the place. And they'll, like, spawn around you in, like, this big circle. So make sure not to move too much, or else, you might end up inside a bunch of those lasers. That wouldn't be good. That would be inappropriate. Alright, and it's time for final spell card. It's something, that's for sure. honestly, I'm not really sure what it all is. It doesn't seem to really have much going on for it in general. You're just sort of hanging out at the bottom of the screen, dodging these little oval dots attack you. Well, clearly Sine is a gamer if she knows about But Thou Must. In fact, she even said the trope by name! So that's, it's confirmed Sine reads TV tropes. Best Touhou character. Anyway, so yeah, here we are. It's the lunar capital. You know, back in Touhou 11, we went to another city that had some very similar architecture, actually. But that was an underground city, where, you know, a bunch of evil spirits remained underground. But now we kind of went in the opposite direction and found the same architecture, pretty much. So, apparently the lunar gods and the evil spirits underground are, they share some pretty similar architects, I'd say. Alright. But really, much like the song back in Touhou 11 that dealt with the city, this song is also pretty cool. It's a pretty great one. I don't know what it is about Touhou games and songs related to cities, but man oh man, the Touhou gals should visit cities more often because it's absolutely fantastic. And hey, check this gal out. Notably, Sine's focus shot is her homing snakes, and in that regard, it's actually better to remain unfocused against this opponent, because if you're firing off your homing snakes, they'll home in on the yin-yang enemies that she summons. Much like how Yugi summoned yin-yang enemies in her battle back in Touhou 11. This is just Touhou 11 Stage 3 stage, isn't it? Just again, but harder. Oh boy. But, yep, we even have a bunch of yin-yang enemies summoning a bunch of lasers. It's just, man oh man, the only thing that this could make it more like Touhou 11's third stage is if the mid-boss that we just fought there stuck around for the entire level afterwards. But, nope, she decided to skedaddle, like most mid-bosses tend to do. Alright. So yeah, these yin-yang orbs, they fire off a bunch of bullets, but none of them seem to be directed at you. Or if they are, they're firing off them pretty slowly. Not really much of a threat there. Maybe if they moved a little bit faster, that'd be pretty dangerous. Yeah, it's actually just one of the streams. One of the 5 streams that actually aims directly at you. Otherwise, each of the other streams fire off consistently proportional from one another. Alright, so this is Sephiroth, the One-Wing Angel. Actually, no, it's Sagame, but she is legitimately a goddess with one wing, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, notably, I haven't been playing any of the fighting games. In fact, I've never fought any of the fighting games. But technically, the game before this one was one of the fighting games, and it was called Urban Legend in Limbo, in which occult orbs appeared, and they made urban legends be real. And one of the urban legends was the urban legend that Sine just mentioned. Now, each playable character in the game used a different urban legend, and the fact that, NASA found a secret society on the moon, but they've been keeping it a secret, that wasn't one of the urban legends that any of the characters used. But it is an urban legend that Sagame here actually created, allowing them to effectively travel to Earth. That's kind of what they're doing there. So yeah, it's one of the instances of continuity. The game Touhou series really hasn't had a whole lot of continuity ever since the Moria Shrine conspiracy set ended with 10, 11, 12, and 13. But, you know, here we have a fighting game bringing in continuity for a shooter game, so that's pretty cool. Also, like Sagame's attacks, a lot of them involve her summoning more yin-yang enemies, so for Sine here, you kind of want to use your unfocused shot a lot, which can be rather difficult given that there's a lot of bullets really close together, which generally requires you to focus. Although here, it's pretty easy, because like normally Sagame, if you're trying to directly attack her, it'll be really hard because there's lasers where she is. But if you're Sine, you can just stay in the safe spot, your snakes will go attack her for you. So yeah, Sagame, whenever she speaks, it changes the world's fate. Which, you know, a lot of people have made, well, they've thought that basically what it meant is whatever she says, the opposite will come true. But that's not exactly how it works. Basically, whenever she talks about a situation, whatever was fated to happen, the opposite will happen. It doesn't really matter what she says about the situation, just that she talked about it. So, yeah, apparently it was fated that the relocation plan would work, but now it's fated that it won't work. But as for why it won't work, well, that's yet to be seen. But she's banking on the fact that it won't be necessary because we handle the force that's attacking the lunar civilization. So now, here we're on the surface of the moon. And, yeah, it sure is the moon. Apparently, Sine leveled up her goddess abilities so that she can survive on the moon now. Actually, that's not it. You see, most of the enemies that we fight in these games are fairies. Now, fairies are basically the weakest species in Jinsokyo. They're representations of nature, which means that wherever they go, life can thrive. But, as representations of nature, they're not exactly smart at all. They're very childlike creatures, never really gaining maturity or intelligence despite living for basically forever. But if they die, they just come back to life again. So that's nice, I guess. They can't really have a whole lot of effect on their own, but it's not like their deaths really mean anything. So the fact that we're constantly shooting them down without any remorse, well, that makes sense, because they're just going to come back to life immediately. But as representations of nature, the fact that they're here on the moon allows people like Sine to exist. But it also makes people like the Lunarians who can't exist in a world of life, well, it makes the scenario hostile for them, because it introduces the possibility of death to them. It's a pretty bad deal for them, really. Who would have thought that gods would be weak to the weakest of species? I guess that's how the circle of life rolls. But, yeah, these sections here where there's just a bunch of fairies all over the place. This looks pretty hectic, but as you can see, I'm barely moving at all to dodge all this stuff. They're not really aiming at all. Which I can empathize. Whenever I play an FPS game, I sure don't aim. I probably should, though. Yeah, like I said earlier, there are a lot of star bullets in this game. I mean, a moment ago it looked like there were a bunch of bars made out of individual bullets, which that was a really fantastic effect right there. And now we got more stars. We got blue stars, yellow stars, green stars, big stars, small stars. We got all the stars, man. Every star in the game. Because, yeah, it's space. If there's fairies and they're representing nature in space, then, you know, I guess they gotta use stars. That's the only thing that fairies in space can possibly use. Alright, so yep, this is Clown Piece. She's a fairy from hell. Because, you know, hell exists, it's a place, and things need to live there, so I guess fairies exist there too. She's dressed up as an American flag because, yep, the moon has the American flag on it. And, yeah, that's basically it. She was inspired by the American flag on the moon. That's basically it. That's why she represents America. Really, though, Clown Piece is, she's pretty darn mimetic. And what we have here is a pretty cool attack. It's an Eclipse Attack, where she's got her stream of bullets and the moon breaks it apart. It reminds me of Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright's battle from Kirby's Dream Land 2 and 3. They had a move like that. It was pretty cool. But yeah, people really don't like Clown Piece because apparently her spell cards are really hard to dodge. But I mean, look at this. I haven't gotten hit once. It's not too bad. Clown Piece also has a pretty cool theme. It's really great. It gets a lot of remixes I've seen. And yeah, Clown Piece was also apparently, not only did her outfit get inspired by the American flag, but so did her bullet patterns. As you can see, we have stars and stripes. Because, you know, America. In this very Eastern-themed game, it's time to fight the West. It's pretty intense. These lasers that come from the side are always just really annoying. But we keep moving on with it. Alright, so yeah, this pattern here is, like, really easy. You just move to the side a little bit, and then bada bing, bada boom, you did it. You dodged the lasers. No problem at all. With these stars that spawn in an arc, I like to imagine that Clown Piece is like swinging her torch side to side. Because that is one thing, is that she's supposed to look like the Statue of Liberty, kind of. With her long flowing hair and holding a torch up. That's a thing. It's notable that Zune says that he knows that a lot of people are scared of clowns, and he hopes that people aren't scared of this clown. Well, buddy, I'm afraid that people are probably more afraid of Clown Piece than they are of it. Yeah, people don't like her bullet patterns much at all. They're intense. They're pretty fast, they're pretty specific, even on easy mode. Though notably, her difficulty on Lunatic mode isn't really that much greater than standard Lunatic difficulty. It's really on normal mode where she's the hardest. That is, proportionally the hardest. Her bullet patterns on normal mode and Lunatic mode aren't that different from one another. So, you know, for people who normally just play on normal mode, that's quite a bit more intense than what they're used to. Anyway, that's about it for this boss battle. She's down. So yep, looks like Clown Piece was not only trying to give us death, but she's also the reason we have life. Because she's making the atmosphere, even if she doesn't fully realize it. But yeah, here we are, gang. It's stage 6. It's the final stage of the game. We have every single bomb we could possibly have. And of course we continue to have no lives, but that doesn't matter. It's not like I've gotten hit at all. Alright. So yeah, apparently right now we're above the Sea of Tranquility. Which, you know, on the actual moon it's not a real sea, it's just a spot that you can see on the moon from Earth. But here, I mean, that looks like water down there to me. Looks like an actual sea. Alright, now here's a pretty difficult moment. So of course there's such a thing as a timed spell card, where you just have to survive a spell card. But here we have something that's like a timed level segment, where there aren't any enemies to shoot, we just have to dodge all these bullets that are coming out of literally nowhere. But what it does do is it gives us a great chance for grazing. Now, I've only actually ever managed to meet the score requirement for getting an extra bomb piece once. But it was during that segment where it happened, because I just grazed everything so effectively. It was pretty cool. Although that said, I rarely use bombs in this game. Because the game requires you to play perfectly anyway, I just don't bother, I just play perfectly. Because that's the thing, is that if the game just lets me retry the same section over and over and over and over again until I get it perfect, I can handle basically any section in the game. It's when you start throwing in extra lives and having to go back to the beginning of the stage, or even the beginning of the game, where things get kind of difficult for me, as far as learning of the game is concerned. Alright, so this is Juco, and she has the ability to purify things, but this is a more standard definition of purifying things, rather than the definition that I still don't fully comprehend as relation to the Lunarians. Yeah, basically the Lunarian, Chanje, I think that's how you pronounce her name, yeah, she kind of killed Juco's son. And thus, she's been out for revenge ever since then. And she purified her rage so hard that she doesn't even have a last name. She doesn't even have a title, which every other Touhou character has. She's just Juco. And, yeah, not only is her rage purified, but her bullet patterns are purified as well. Normally, the difficulty of bullet patterns in Touhou games is the fact that they're very complex, so figuring out how to dodge is really the challenge. But for Juco here, how to dodge these bullet patterns isn't exactly much of a secret, but the mechanics of actually doing it, now that's the hard part. Notably, the only way to get the good ending of this game is to either be playing point device mode, which we're doing here, or to get through the regular mode, which plays how you normally play a Touhou game, without ever getting hit at all. Normally the requirement is to not get a game over, but yeah, they're really upping the ante for this game. Fortunately, it's not like we've been hit anyway, so, you know, we could have totally played the normal way anyway. But no, I decided point device mode, because hey, it's the new way to play. But yeah, a lot of stuff in this battle involves what people call micro-dodging, which I believe that's basically just dodging individual bullets very specifically. Now, this bullet pattern looks pretty cool here. You got all these blue bullets, you got all these yellowish orange bullets, and then they fall. You just fly past them. It's pretty neat. Harder difficulties add more colors and sets of bullets in that regard. So that's pretty cool. Alright, now this is pretty cool. So normally, you know, I don't really dodge just by staying at the bottom of the screen. But here, that's kind of the optimal situation. Because bullets will bounce off the bottom of the screen whenever they reach there for the first time. And as such, you know, you only have to dodge them once if you're already at the bottom. Alright, so here we got some serious left and right going on. Although here at the beginning of the spell card, the space between these bullets is enough so you can just stand still. But around here, you're gonna have to just constantly weave back and forth. Yep, there we go, just gotta weave. I guess it's a good chance for some good graze ability. But, you know, it's just go back and forth, that's it, you did it. Congratulations, you completed the spell card. Alright, now this is a really difficult one for me because, yeah, we haven't seen lasers this curvy since Show. I guess that you could say that Show and Juco have curves in all the right places. All the right places to kill me, that is. Gee whiz. Yeah, I can never properly predict where these lasers are gonna go. But, you know what? Seems like things are working out pretty well for me this time. It also feels like this spell card just never ends. Like, how many waves of lasers have we dodged so far? There we go. It's about time. Alright, so here we have a timed spell card that's a little bit annoying. So these bullets explode out of you. And you have to move around them because after reaching their furthest outward point, they just home in onto your current position. So you kind of want to move in a circle, but don't move too fast, because if they spawn out of you and you're still moving, you could very easily run into a bullet that's floating away from you. That's pretty annoying. Notably, even on harder difficulties, they actually spawn at the exact same frequency, it just adds more bullets. Anyway, here we are at the final spell card in the game. And yet, it's purely bullet hell. Just a bunch of bullets are gonna spawn, you gotta dodge them all. And man, oh man, there are gonna be so many bullets, guys. So, this spell card happens in phases. And you can actually see the different phases on Juco's health bar. You see those little perfect purple notches on her health bar there. Which we're just about to reach one here any second now. There we go, yep, and every time you reach one, the bullet pattern gets more and more complex. You start with red bullets, then you get the purple bullets, now we got blue bullets. Oh boy! Just bullets exploding out of everywhere, all over the place. And, yep, you just gotta keep dodging. You just gotta dodge everything. Again, honestly, it's at this point where I kind of stop being able to keep track of everything effectively. And, okay, it's the last part, and we're bombing. Get a death bomb right at the end. So yeah, notably, Juco isn't immune to bombs in her final spell card like final spell cards tend to be. So that's interesting. So yeah, there we go. That's it. That's Touhou 15, Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. And gang, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't actually play the game perfectly. No, I actually just cut out all of my game overs because, yeah, every time you respawn, it respawns you in the exact same position as where you started the chapter, so you can just sort of seamlessly edit it out. It's perfect. Although it's not perfectly seamless, you know, obviously there were music jumps, and especially during boss battles, for some reason during the middle of stages, whenever you respawn, the music restarts as to where the chapter started it at. But during boss battles, it doesn't do that, it just keeps playing the boss battle theme through. So that's interesting. But anyway, yeah, I generally like Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. It's quite a bit harder than the other games, but due to its point device mechanic, I find that I can actually more consistently get through it. Even if I did end up cutting out about 30 minutes of footage. So with that said, I'm Mr. Game Pie, and I'll see you next time. See you then.